Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, of course, as you know, I am in Spain, in Europe. It is absolutely boiling, boiling, hot, humid. The air is so heavy, and it's not even midday yet. It is 30 degrees. It's not sunny, really. It's cloudy, humid. It's horrible. The dog's just having some. We're going through water, drinks of water. Poor dog. All the dogs, they don't know what to do with themselves. It's so hot and clammy. We've got a heat warning tomorrow. So tomorrow's a heat warning. If it's going to be even hotter than today, God knows what that's going to be like. I mean, I literally feel ill. I've forgotten what it's like when it gets to the peak of the summer. You actually think you are ill, and then as the weather cools down, you realise you weren't ill. You were just too hot. Anyway, sorry, I'm just setting up my phone so I can read the chat as I'm going along. Yeah, so very hot, sweltering. So that's why I'm on the avatar, because I just look like a wet dishcloth. It's just, you can't do your hair, you can't do your makeup. It's like, so you're better off not seeing me literally in person, the way that I look like I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. But I wanted to come on. I wasn't going to do a live, because I just felt that horrible today. I mean, I really do feel ugh. But all these details that are coming out about poor Anne and her death, is more and more details now that the inquest started, and that there was the court appearance yesterday. And every detail that comes out is worse than the last one, isn't it? So anyway, that's what I'm going to tell you about today. It seems like this attack, this cruel attack on Anne, was all recorded on her home cameras. How awful. Just horrible, isn't it? I mean, it's good in a way because it will help to put the perpetrator away. The fact that it was recorded on camera, but poor Anne, what she must have gone through. And so it turns out there were some words exchanged as well. So that's what we're going to look at, what happened in Anne's final minutes. And they literally were minutes, only 2 minutes, apparently, this blitz attack took from start to finish. Goodness me. We're also going to have a look at the perpetrator and all these different photos that keep coming out of him, and looks different on every photo, doesn't he? I'd like to see his mugshot. And see what he actually does look like. But anyway, we're going to look at that. I haven't got any waffle today, apart from I waffled on about how hot it is. There's nothing. I've not been doing anything except, if I'm not doing Spanish classes, and I'm not on here chatting to you guys, I am probably asleep in bed, or having another cold shower, or just can't do anything in this heat. It's very energy sapping. Poor dogs don't know what to do with yourselves, do you? So it must be even worse for them with their fur coats on. Okay, so first of all, just thank you. I haven't even put my banner on. My brain's definitely not working properly. I mean, my brain doesn't work that well in the best of times, but when it's hot like this, when they talk about your brain's getting fried. Oh my goodness. It is an effort even to think, never mind do anything. So thank you, though. Thank you so much, everyone who supports my channel. I appreciate you much more than you even know. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Just watching. commenting, hyping the videos, or these new things that you can do with these sparkles and things that some of you have managed to do. I still haven't quite worked out how it works, but and then of course special thank you to those of you who buy Ko-fis or coffees. I don't, did I put up my, I think I did put up the coffee thing right at the beginning. Might pin that actually. Then that means I don't have to keep remembering. Oh, can't pin it on there. Can't pin it on there. What are you crying for? It's too hot, isn't it? It's too hot, baby. Oh, I'm not on the right thing. Hang on. Sorry, won't be a sec. Oh my God. Something I'm doing wrong here. Oh, hang on. Getting sorted. Yeah, so those of you send that, you go that extra mile, don't you? A lot of you buy me Ko-fis or coffees, whatever sort of suits you. Thank you for that. Let me just find this again. I'm nearly done. I think I've managed it now. So yeah, members, of course. So there'll be a members live tomorrow evening. We're going to talk about this YouTuber who's trying to get my channel banned, I think. We'll have a chat about that. I will reveal all tomorrow. And legal processes are in place over that, just to let you know. Okay, so hello, lovely lurkers. Thank you for watching. Hello, replay crew. Thank you for watching. You can't see, but I am blowing kisses. Let's come into the chat. There's a few of you in the chat. Thank you for chatting as well. So yeah, let me just reiterate the free ways you can help my channel are, of course, by watching first and foremost, liking, subscribing, sharing, hyping the video. They're all free ways. Then so there you can buy Ko-fis or coffees. There's a merchandise on my Ko-fi page. I will go through all that one day. I say it every time, don't I? I'm going to go through all the merchandise, but I never do, not properly. So yeah. Oh, or by becoming a member, of course. And membership benefits are every fortnight we have an exclusive members live. You've got special members emojis that you can use, and you know, every now and again there's just videos and photos that I only share with members. Right, okay, who's in the chat? Let's have a look. Hey, David. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Laura. Hi, Louise. So yeah, thank you to all of you that join in the chat as well, because that always helps with the algorithm too. Yeah, Kelly, it's horrible to think that this attack was recorded on her home cameras, but it's good as far as prosecution is concerned. I mean, is this man a complete thicko? I mean, is, you know, what, you know, he's sort of gone all that way and he's committed a terrible murder on video. Surely he knew there was cameras there. Or did he just not care because he is maybe got some mental issues? I just don't know. But yeah, very 2 long minutes. Because actually you think of 2 minutes as not being a long time, but it's a long time. 2 minutes is a long time when you're going through suffering or whatever, just 2 minutes of pain or 2 minutes waiting for something to happen, you know, when you want it to happen. 2 minutes is a short time, but, you know, time is very relative, isn't it? even like a day, a week, an hour. Um, Whether it goes, an hour can go so quickly sometimes, but it can go so slowly as well, can't it? When I do Spanish classes, they're hour-long classes, they go really quick. I've done 4-hour classes with intensive courses and things that I've done, gone really quick. But yeah, if something's happening that's disagreeable, even 2 minutes can seem like a long, long time, can't it? So time is so relative. Hello, Heather. Yeah, a very weird case. So we still don't know his exact motive. Did he just hate her that much because of Nigel Farage? Why did he hate Anne so much? Or was it just because she was an easy target? This is what we talked about. Maybe, hi Lily Pauly, maybe, really would have preferred to attack Nigel Farage, for example. But he couldn't get to Nigel Farage, so he attacked Anne because she is a soft target, an elderly lady living alone. And it sounds to me from what I wonder if her door was open, because he seemed to just march straight into her house. She was sat up in the kitchen having her lunch when he attacked her, when he blitz attacked her 21 times. He hit her over the head with a hammer, and then he pushed her onto the floor, callously pushed her onto the floor. Anyway, he did say some words to her. And that's what we're going to look at in a moment, exactly what happened. So, Kelly, Members Live tomorrow will be 8 o'clock Spanish time. And I can virtually guarantee that, so I don't have to go and pick up number one son. There should be no problem, as long as I'm still awake because we've got a heat warning tomorrow. But I'm going to make sure I get a nap and I'm fresh for Members Live. That's the problem at the moment in the evenings. But 8 o'clock Spanish time is what I'm aiming for. So now something that keeps coming up, and a few of you are mentioning it there in the chat, is this suspect, the guy, well, he's been charged now, how different he looks on all the pictures of him. So, we've got here, I've tried to put them all together. These are all the pictures I have of him at the moment. So we've got the pictures of him. These two are quite similar, aren't they? When he was working, he seemed to be relatively happy chappy. Don't know what was, of course, you never know what's going on in people's heads, even though he looks okay there, quite sort of happy. But at least it looks like him. They both look similar, don't they, those two photos? So, of course, since then, he's cut his hair. And this is how the artist impression was of him when he appeared in court yesterday. Looks, and I mean, I know the artist impressions are pretty crapo, aren't they, normally? But it literally looks nothing like it, does it? Hi, David. He's just like, his nose looks different. His chin looks different. I mean, to me, it's the chin, because I know he's got longer facial hair here. But his chin looks a different shape, doesn't it? Because I know mental health issues can affect you the way people look. I've seen, many years ago, I worked with someone. Oh, no, I was at college with someone. Really nice guy. Lovely guy that I was at college with. Then we left college. I went to work at the Social Security. And I was on reception in the Social Security office in Rusham, in Manchester. And this lad walked in. This same lad that I'd been to college with, got on really well with, we'd been good friends. Oh my God, I didn't recognize him. I often think about him now because he obviously was going through some mental health issues, because he sort of walked into the reception. He looked completely different, but I could see it was him. But I would, if I wouldn't have known as well from the name on his case files. And he had an appointment with me, and he was claiming sickness benefit for mental health issues. And we started ranting and raving, and he just, he was definitely, I don't know, it seemed to me like he might have even been schizophrenic. But when we were at college, he didn't even, he was just a normal lad, just that's how it felt. So he obviously deteriorated into bad mental health for whatever reason. But what I'm trying to say is he looked so different. And, I saw him once more after that in Manchester town centre. He was stood in the freezing cold, pouring rain, with just like a thin T-shirt on. He was shivering. He was that cold. He was literally shaking with the cold, just standing there staring straight ahead. He should have been in a hospital really or something. And I never saw him again after that. But sometimes I think about him. He was only about 21. He was obviously, something was going on, whether he had schizophrenia or some kind of mental illness was going on there. And I wonder about him, what happened to him in the end. But so what I'm trying to say is it can change your appearance. So Joshua in these bottom pictures, he looks quite sort of a happy chappy, doesn't he? Like quite, doesn't look like he's got any mental health issues, which of course doesn't mean to say he didn't even then, because you can't always tell. But yeah, it looks different. Look at this. So this picture here, I mean, this obviously is not photo. This is the artist's impression. Looks like he's put on weight. Well, we've seen that from the CCTV. We've seen him of him. He's a big guy. He's carrying a bit of extra weight. He's a tall guy. Poor Anne wouldn't have stood a chance, would she? But this photo, which apparently was taken, when he was in the van or whatever, like, how the photographers, they just hold up their cameras, don't they, and just press take photo and hope that they get a good photo, and sometimes they do. We've seen that picture of Andrew, formerly known as Prince, when he was trying to hide in his car. That picture of him that we've seen. Sometimes they strike lucky, don't they, the photographers? We've seen a picture of her in her van as she was taken off after she was sentenced to sort of life imprisonment. So sometimes these photographers are lucky, Yeah, Kelly, Andrew looked like a corpse in that photo, yeah. And yes, David, mental health, you don't know when it's going to sneak up on people, and it literally can be anything. It can be a bereavement. Now, we have to remember that this man lost his father just before Christmas. If he already had a tendency towards bad mental health, did that finish him off completely? I'm not using it as an excuse. I don't believe in mental health being an excuse, because, lots of people suffer from bad mental health and they don't go around killing people. The same with the rumours of his learning difficulties, etc. It's a bit of, there's plenty of people with learning difficulties, just. So I won't have it as an excuse, but sometimes it is a reason, I suppose. Because I know from, family, often what happens is when people are right down at the bottom, at their lowest ebb, but they'll start taking tablets because the doctor will prescribe them and that. But as soon as they start feeling better, they stop taking them, don't they? So I don't need those tablets, I'm fine. But it's the tablets that have made them fine. and then they stop taking them, and before you know it, they're back where they were. Back where they were, and they won't. You can't make. It's very difficult with adults. Like this man is 28 years old. I'm sure when his father was alive, he worried about him, and maybe he tried to make him take his medication. But it's virtually impossible to make an adult take their medication if they don't want to. So yeah, I'll tell you what's the most different thing to me, and maybe it's just the fact that he's got his beard shorter, is the shape of his mouth, and his chin looks different, doesn't it? The whole, if you look at the whole shape of the face looks different. This picture of him here in the car, I don't know, just something about the whole. But of course, he's not smiling either. People look different when they smile. He's smiling on these two photos. He's not smiling on that photo. He's got a different sort of beard and a different sort of facial hair. And of course, his hair has been cut short. So, people can look different. But there's only 2 years, 2 years different. This reminds me a little bit of the Rayners. Rob Rayner and his wife Michelle and their son Nick, who obviously murdered them through mental health issues, no doubt. Drug issues as well. I don't know if this boy is on drugs or drinking or what. We don't know for that. He could be on a combination of drugs and drinking, for all we know. Rob Rayner was definitely had a drugs problem. But his appearance changed a lot. Look at Chandler Bing, or, the character of Chandler Bing in Friends. His appearance changed, didn't it, over the years, depending on whether he was on drugs or off drugs. The actor, of course, who sadly died a couple of years ago. His appearance changed. They lose weight, they put on weight, and then their face changes. And so there could be drugs into play here as well as mental health. Could be a combination of all of it, couldn't it, I suppose? It could have been taking anything, David, for all we know. I doubt if he's been taking steroids personally, because that's normally something that people take when they're going to the gym and stuff like that. It doesn't look like, he's been taking steroids personally, but he could have been, don't know. We don't know enough yet, do we? But all we know is he does look different on all these photos. But people can look different, of course. So anyway, let me know what you think, of course. Because some people are even saying that he's like a different person, but I don't think he's a different person, but I don't know. Of course, this leads to conspiracy theories. I'd like to see his mugshot, and that's what I'd like to see, is full-on facial mugshot. I don't understand why they're not releasing it, because he's been charged now. Because that would stop a lot of speculation just by putting his photo out there, wouldn't it? Anyway, the British police are not known for their transparency, are they? That's definitely, we may not find out a lot of things before the actual trial. So remember, the trial is not going to be till, was it next year or was it October? I can't remember now. But it won't be for a while yet. He'll probably be assessed. He'll probably have to be assessed mentally, don't you think? Yeah, Kelly, Zac Efron, I think he's had quite a lot of plastic. So, and I love Zac Efron. I loved him in. Was he in Glee? I mean, I didn't watch that. That's not my sort. So brilliant when he played Ted Bundy in the Netflix series about Ted Bundy. What a brilliant actor! And I thought, And then, like you, I saw him recently and I thought, surely that's not the same person. You know, sometimes people's faces do change. And sometimes it's because of plastic surgery. I think Zach might have had a bit of plastic surgery as well. Or sometimes it's mental health. Or just sometimes as people get older, they look so completely different, don't they? So, uh, sad, isn't it, really? It is sad. It is sad for him as well because he is a young man who he's lost his life, really, hasn't he? He's going to be in prison probably for the rest of his life or in a secure hospital. So although it's obviously more sad for Anne because she's the victim in all this and her family. But yeah, it's sad for his family too. I can't imagine how it would feel to find out your family member is a murderer. Has he got 2 or 3 brothers? You know, imagine that phone call when the police are phoning you or your loved ones phoning you from prison and saying, "Oh, I've got something to tell you. I'm in prison." Oh my God, what's happened? Oh, it was me who murdered Anne Widdicome. Oh, come on, imagine that phone call. So it's just sad all round, isn't it? Very sad. He looks a bit Peter Sutcliffe to me. He reminds me a little bit of Peter Sutcliffe, especially on that. I think that's who I was trying to think of yesterday that reminded me of. When Peter Sutcliffe put on weight when he was in Broadmoor and his face puffed out, didn't it? This face, the shape of his face, and here reminds me a bit of Peter Sutcliffe. Not when Peter Sutcliffe was first arrested, but later on. I think he looks a little bit like that. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to put Anne's picture back up. Again, my favourite picture of Anne, I think, with her cat, Aloysius. Aloysius was removed from the home and is being looked after. And I'm sure he won't be short of people offering him a home. He's a beautiful cat. You can see the bond between him and Anne. I expect he was terrified, that day when this man just burst in. God, horrible. Okay, so I'm going to read to you what is being said about what happened. So, this is from the internet. Anne Widdicome the murder of Anne Widdicome was captured on her home's interior security cameras. And the prosecutors revealed at Westminster Magistrates Court that the harrowing footage shows, first, the suspect, 28-year-old Joshua Kerry, entering the politician's rural Devon bungalow through an open front door. So it was open. We wondered about that, didn't we? We wondered that, her door must have been open for him to just sort of walk in there while she was eating her lunch, sat on a chair eating her lunch. So he walks, then it shows him walking into the kitchen while Widdicome was sitting down and eating lunch. Now, Anne obviously didn't hear him coming. Or was she facing him as he walked in? Just horrible to think of how that must have been for her, sitting there eating her lunch, a sandwich or whatever it was. And he either walks in and comes up behind her, or maybe he walked in and she was facing him. But either way, it would be a big shock, wouldn't it? And then he asks, and this is captured on the camera, he asks, "I don't suppose you have bank cards and ID?" What a funny thing to say. Wonder why he said that. I don't know. None of this makes sense, does it? Because he didn't go there to rob her. He didn't travel, 4.5 hours to rob Anne Widdicome. There's lots of old women probably round about where he lives. So why did he say that? I don't suppose you have bank cards and ID. Why would he want her ID? What, did he just want to make sure it was Anne Widdicombe? Very odd. So it says, Kerry wearing black gloves. So he did have black gloves on. He struck her over the head 21 times with a hammer before tipping her onto the kitchen floor. I mean, that's gratuitous. It's all gratuitous. He probably only had to hit her once, and maybe she would have already been dead. But 21 times is definite overkill. We've talked about that, didn't we, yesterday? It's unusual for someone to kill a stranger with that much vehemence, with that much hatred, with that much passion. That's normally, when you get overkill like that's normally somebody who has a personal grudge against the person. But he may have imagined that he knew her and he had a personal grudge. 21 times is a lot. Then tipping her onto the kitchen floor. I keep getting this vision in my, honestly, this is what's playing on my head all the time at the moment. I don't know I'm going to get that out of my head, actually. After coming out of like the Preston Davy case, which I thought was the worst case that I'd ever dealt with, the little baby that was abused to death basically by his adoptive parents, 4 months, 40 injuries. And I still think that's the worst case that I've ever covered, and I hope I don't ever cover anything worse. But this is a close follow-up, because the picture that you get in your head of poor Anne sitting there, in her own home, in the kitchen eating her lunch, and then him bursting in, totally surprising her, hitting her 21 times, which is bad enough in itself, as she sat in her chair, and then tipping her over onto the kitchen floor. Fuck off. What? You feel, the callousness of this guy. Hi, Darren. How callous can you get? Not only he's done that, hit her over the head 21 times and murdered her, there will have been blood everywhere, won't they? Then he's just callously upended the chair and tipped her onto the floor like she was a bit of rubbish. Awful. So apparently when she was found, she was face down on the floor. Maybe that explains a little bit why at first they thought it was an accident. Though I just think somebody hit someone over the head 21 times with a hammer. How are you going to think that's an accident? But it's possible that there may have been so much blood that the injuries couldn't have been recognised immediately. That's always possible. So... So this entire fatal attack lasted only 2 minutes and was recorded by a hallway camera. So Anne's DNA was recovered from a hammer and gloves found in bins outside the suspect's home in Rotherham. So he's a complete thicko. So he drove all that 4.5-hour journey back to Rotherham. At any point, he could have disposed of that hammer or those gloves somewhere. He could have done an Erin Patterson, couldn't he, and stopped at the service station for 9 seconds, a 9-second bathroom break, and put the hammer and gloves into a bin or something. And the thing is, those bins in service stations are most likely emptied a lot more often than, what it's like in the UK. How often do your bins get collected? Is it every 2 weeks or something? Fancy putting your murder weapon in your gloves in a bin. Oh, mind you, he did go and put the bins out a couple of days later, didn't he? So, but anyway, they were found. The hammer and the gloves were found in his bin. Now, you could get away with that in Spain, because in Spain the bins are collected every single morning without fail. Our bins are taken away, so you've got more chance of getting away with it here, I suppose. But fancy, so he's murdered her in full view of the cameras. Then he's gone home, put the hammer and the gloves in the bin at his own house. How thick can you get? So he's been remanded into custody with counter-terrorism police investigating potential ideological or political motivations behind the killing. Now, don't forget, he has not been charged with any terror, even though he was held by the terrorist police and they were looking into connections with terrorism or political motivations. That he has not been charged with any political motivation or terrorism charge. He's been charged with old-fashioned murder, just murder. And that's what he's been charged with, the murder of Anne Widdicome. So far, I mean, that can change, of course, but so far it's not been, it's not been linked to terrorism, even though he was interviewed by the counter-terrorism police. Oh, I mean, how thick can you get? And like you say, David, yeah, it does remind us of David Konobovich. He was another thicko, thought he was so clever. He was the one, he drove all the way from Serbia. Talk about driving all the way to murder someone. He rented a car, drove all the way from Serbia to Madrid in Spain, where his ex-wife, or his wife that they were separating, Anna, was having a new life, enjoying her life, having a great time. He didn't want to give her any money in the divorce settlement, so he drove all the way to Madrid, hours and hours. He's another one. He would have had plenty of time to change his mind in a hire car. And then when he got to Madrid, he went and bought a can of spray paint in the local hardware shop. So, of course, there was CCTV of that. And then he actually went and painted out he was wearing a crash helmet. He tried to disguise himself with like a motorbike crash helmet, but he had to lift the lid up. Not the lid, lift the top up. And it was clear as day that it was David Konezovich spraying out the CCTV cameras in Anna's apartment block. And of course, then they found the CCTV of him buying the spray paint in the local hardware store. He then got in the lift, went up to Anna's floor, and because he'd made a right bollocks of it as well. So he'd sprayed the black paint on the CCTV cameras, but he didn't even do it properly. You could still see the lift. So he was captured on the CCTV through the black spray paint, going up to Anna's apartment, and then coming down later with a suitcase, which he thought that Anna was in that suitcase. So he went up there, he murdered Anna, he brought her down in the suitcase, and off he went. And Anna's body still to this day has not been found. It's not sure, he could have buried her anywhere, sort of on the way back to Serbia. And then, of course, he was finally arrested because he was a thicko and he did everything wrong. He was finally arrested when he went back to America, which is where he was a resident. And he then deleted himself in prison without revealing where Anna's body is, after, insisting on his innocence, of course, like they all do. Oh, no, nothing to do with me. I wasn't in Spain, even though he's on CCTV as being in Spain. He insisted he hadn't done it, and then next minute he took his own life in prison, and he took his secrets to the grave. And Anna's family, looks like they probably will never get her remains back. Though I think the police are still looking for her, to be fair. I don't think they'll give up looking for her. And they may find her one day, I hope so, just for her family's sake. So yeah, another thicko, all these thickos, it just makes it even more insulting, I think, when they're thick about it. They don't even, these are pointless crimes. Look at that with David and Anna Knezevich, all that money that they had. They had this successful business. He didn't want to give Anna 50% of it. That's what it was all about. So he tried to get rid of Anna so he wouldn't have to give her any money. But what's happened in the end? Nobody has got the benefit of that money. Anna's not alive anymore. David is not alive anymore. Who will get the benefit of their fortune? Hopefully not his brother, because he's a twonk who it's likely helped him. Hopefully Anna's family will get to see some of it. I don't know. But the thing is, Anna officially is still a missing person. She'd have to be declared dead before anyone can have the estate, wouldn't she? For her half of it, anyway. So what a mess and what a pointless crime. And you see, these pointless crimes like this, what has it achieved? What was he trying to achieve by murdering Anne? What possible advantage was it to him or anybody? Obviously wasn't an advantage to Anne and her family, but what advantage did he get out of it? Well, he took her wallet, and I'm interested to know if when he ordered a pizza, whether he used Anne's cards. Surely he's not that thick. Because I'll tell you something, even here in Spain, where we get quite a lot of break-ins, there's a lot of Moroccan gangs go around breaking into homes in the tourist areas, because tourist areas are easy targets. There's rarely violence involved. It's normally they just want to go in there. Tourists tend to have a lot of money around and cameras and phones and things like that. And also tourists don't tend to be as security conscious, because people leave their brains at home sometimes when they go on holiday. They do things here in Spain, that if they were at home, they'd be very security conscious maybe, but they go on holiday and they think nothing can happen. So there's a lot of robberies. But you know what? These gangs, they may take a credit card and try and use it that very first night that they have it, but then they just want to get rid of anything that's got anybody's name on. There's a popular misconception that they steal passports. They don't steal passports. They don't want to be caught with your passport, because that links them to you. So what they do is they might try and use them just within an hour of robbing them, just see what they can get with them. But they don't keep them on their person, because they don't want to be arrested, and they've got your credit card on their person. So what they normally want are phones, obviously cameras, anything that their computers, things they can sell quickly. And with the phones, they take the SIM cards out immediately. They only want the phone. They don't want your SIM card. They don't want anything that can link them to you. They just want things that are easy to get, cash, of course, they want. So what's he doing taking her wallet? And link something to link him to her. He's not the brightest, spark, is he? He's not the sharpest tack in the box to do that. Just absolutely don't understand. It does make you think probably he did have mental health issues, because it's the most pointless crime you can think of, really. Go and kill an old lady, steal a wallet, get caught a couple of days later, and go to prison for the rest of your life. what maybe wanted to go to prison. I mean, some people do. He's the sort of person perhaps who'd feel more comfortable in prison being looked after. It sounds like his dad looked after him, and then his dad died before Christmas. Maybe he was struggling to look after himself. So he'd go to prison, he'd be cosseted, won't he, for the rest of his life? Maybe he'll quite like that. Some people do quite enjoy prison, believe it or not, because they know that people who can't cope well with life quite like prison because there's a structure. If you get God, you've only got to sneeze and the doctor's there to see if you're okay. That's why they all seem to live such long lives. Get his PlayStation or whatever it is he likes doing, and get limited access probably to computers and things. Probably better life than he was having before. The only thing he's going to miss is his dog. Of course, he had a dog. The dog was taken away. I hope the dog's okay. So both Anne's cat and Joshua's dog, their lives have been changed completely as well. They'll be wondering where their owner is. I wonder if I can find out anything about his dog. Let's have a look. Who's going to have his dog? Now I'm worrying about the dog. Yeah, it says he lived with his dog in a housing estate in the Kimberworth Park area. So where is the dog? Just saying that the dog was removed from the property. I hope that hasn't been put down or anything. That just seems unfair. Quite often I've watched crime things where the murderer has a dog. There's always a dog involved somewhere. And you think, poor dog. Anyway, I don't know. Don't know what's happened to the dog. But yeah, I think so. Don't forget, at the end of the year, we have Twonk of the Year, don't we? He's going to be a contender, isn't it? God, we've already got so many contenders for Twonk of the Year. As I say, always have dogs, always. But even Hitler loved dogs. It's funny, really, isn't it? Because this part of you thinks, oh, if somebody loves animals, they must be a nice person. But Hitler loved dogs, didn't he? He loved animals. He was a vegetarian, wasn't he? He wouldn't eat animals. But, doesn't always mean they're a nice person, does it? Unfortunately. Yeah. Just hope, yeah, let's hope so, Darren. Let's hope it gets rehomed and cared for. Let's hope so. Because obviously the dog. Let's hope both Aloysius and Joshua's dog, get cared for. Because, it's such a mess, really, isn't it? The whole thing. And as we're saying, just so pointless. I mean, what's going to happen to Anne's property? There's Anne's property. She loved that property. She loved living there, didn't she? It was a retirement home. It was called Anne's, wasn't it? Anne's, what was her house called? Was it Anne's Rest? Anne's Rest, wasn't it? That she bought it to retire to. She loved it. She loved the views. She loved going walking on Dartmoor. And then she came to that horrible ending there. It's awful, isn't it? Oh, Kelly, don't say that. Dennis Nielsen's dog was put to sleep. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Just doesn't seem fair, does it really? You know, if it was a dog that, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was an older dog, but it just seems so unfair because it's not the bloody dog's fault, is it? That his uh, master, if you like, or his dad, as I like to call him, wasn't the dog's fault that they were he was a twonk, complete twonk. You know, maybe they think who would want Dennis Nielsen's dog. You know, I suppose that's another thing is when someone, you know, Dennis Nielsen, he was a serial killer, wasn't he, at the end of the day? And he hid his bodies around the house and everything. Hid the bodies of the men that he killed around the house and flushed them down the drains. That's how he got caught, wasn't it, in the end? Because all the drains clogged up with the remains of the men that he'd murdered when he tried to flush them down the toilet. Maybe just they think, oh, nobody would want. So I'm going to look that up. Dennis Nielsen's dog. They've also Ian Huntley had a dog. Do you remember Ian Huntley had a dog? Because that's what he said. He was doing that day was he was shampooing the dog. You know, the Soham murderer. He was shampooing the dog outside when the girls walked past. There's always a dog. Yeah, Bleep. It was called Bleep. Serial killer Dennis Nielsen, Nielsen owned a border collie cross named Bleep. Although Nielsen was deeply attached to his dog, he was put to death by lethal injection at a shelter just 3 days after his arrest, which apparently was one of the few times that Donald Nielsen displayed genuine distress. So that was 1983. 3 days after he was arrested, Bleak was put to death. That's the way it words it here on that. Put to death, not put to sleep. Put to death by lethal injection. Oh my God. However, Bleep is also credited with playing a role in the survival of one of the men that Nielsen targeted. During an encounter with Carl Stotter, the dog licked the man's face, which helped him regain consciousness, and it led to Nielsen to stop the attack and provide resuscitation. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, so it was oh, it's got some. Let's see what it says on Reddit. Oh, so she was a rescue dog. Des Nielsen's dog was a rescue dog. Ah. Oh dear, you know, it's thing is these awful things that happen, the ripples that go out after, you know, so it's not only obviously the murder of Anne is the main thing and it's just terrible what's happened to Anne, but the misery, of course. So, you know, there's Anne's cat has now lost its owner. His dog has lost its owner. There's the family and the friends. And, you know, because Anne was a popular public figure, it causes ripples of tragedy more than just the murder itself. All murders do, don't they? All crimes like this. You know, quite often it leads to trauma in the families of the survivors. People get survivors' guilt. This it's just when somebody murders another person or any crime really, it's not just the crime, It's the ripples that go out from it. Look at Preston Davy. You know, obviously, it's the baby, Preston. That's the worst thing. The baby was murdered by his his adoptive parents. But all the misery that ensues out of that, because the two horrible monsters that murdered Preston, their families, how miserable they'll be about everything. Preston's biological mum, Preston's biological dad, the foster parents of Preston. And then just generally, you know, Preston Davies' death affected everyone, even people that didn't even know him, you know, just because of the absolute tragedy of it. And this is another one. When cases reach high profile status, the misery that they cause is extended far beyond just the actual crime itself. So, you know, this twonk has caused, you know, terrible repercussions and ripples. Exactly, Heather. No matter what, you know, I have nothing. You know, as I say, I've said many times, her political views are not my own, all of them. But some things I agree with her on. But I still, you know, I just remember her for Strictly Come Dancing and standing up to Mick Philpott. That's the positive things I remember on for. And also, you know, she's forthright in her views. I like that. I like people who are honest in their views, that you can tell they really believe it, whether you agree with them or not. They certainly believe in it. They're not just saying it for effect. You know, that's what I hate, is false people that just say things because they think that's what people would want to hear. That's something I don't do, and maybe, you know, that costs you sometimes. To me, I have my views, and they're not always popular with people, but they're my views, and that's it. So. And Anne was like that, so I respect her for that. So, just a summary of what I came on here to tell you about, which was this: that as far as they're saying, anyway, we're, you know, as time goes on, I'm sure we'll get to know more details. This whole attack was recorded on Anne's home cameras. Anne was having her lunch in the kitchen. What we don't know, was she facing the front door? Did she see him as he came in? You know, was she actually facing the front door? It seems like the front door was left open because of the heat. So he's literally parked his car outside, got out of his car and just walked in. What we don't know, was Anne facing him, or was she sat with her back to the kitchen door, and did he come up behind her and startle her? I mean, I don't know if Anne had any hearing problems, because it seems funny to me that she didn't hear someone pull up right outside, because even where I live, I would, if somebody pulled up outside my door, I would hear it. Quite often I hear people pull up, and I think, and the thing is, as far, you know, I don't live in a place like Anne's. My place is much more built up, but you know your neighbours' cars, don't you? When people pull up outside my house, I've normally got the blinds down this time of year because it keeps the sun out, so I can't see out the window who it is. But I can normally tell. You get to know your neighbours' cars, what they sound like. It's hard to explain, but I know my neighbours if it's my neighbour's car that pulls up. If a car pulls up that I think, oh, that sounds like, you know, and then I think, oh, is it the postman? It can, sometimes a postman comes in a van, or it could be anything. Or then I think, oh, you know, who's that parking up outside? But I know I hear it, is what I'm trying to say. Did Anne not hear anybody pull up and park right outside her front door? but of course her property is big. Maybe the kitchen is at the back of the property. So, if she was in the kitchen, maybe you can't hear who's pulling into the front drive. Normally drives have gravel on them and you do hear, don't you? But anyway, she was surprised. So, see, it maybe just came so quickly she didn't have really time to register what was happening. But yeah, be interesting to know, did she have her back to the kitchen door and did she not notice him until he spoke to her? Or was she facing the door and just watched him rush in? And so apparently he said to her, don't suppose you have cards or ID card for some unknown reason. And this was supposedly recorded on camera. This is what we're being told. He then launched his attack on Anne. He was wearing gloves. He had a hammer with him. Hit her 21 times on the head with the hammer as she was sitting at her kitchen table. And then he just upended the chair and pushed her over onto the floor like she was a bit of rubbish. And then he took her wallet out of her bag and off he went. And the whole thing only took 2 minutes. Hi, Wesley. Yeah. Well, I think it's a lesson to all of us, David. I never leave my front door open. I mean, I've got the dogs to think about anyway. Don't want them going out barking at everybody. But even now, where it's so hot, it'd be nice if I could leave the front door open, but I couldn't. Not unless, I think I said in another video, a lot of people here in Spain, they have like a metal grill door put on so they can leave the front door open but close the grill, and so nobody can get in, but the air can come in, and that's quite a good idea, to be honest. Sometimes I open my patio windows, but you can't get into them. You have to come onto the patio. That it'd be a struggle to do that without being noticed. But to be honest, I never really leave them open again because of the dogs. So, and at the moment, you've got all the blinds down because you're just trying to keep the sun out. It's so oppressive. So there you go. That's the latest bit of information we're being given. All the time we're given little extra bits of information. 2-minute blitz attack, a few words exchanged, 21 hammer blows to the head, pushed over onto the floor like a bit of rubbish. And then he took the hammer and the gloves back with him and put them in his own bin, the thicko. Just crazy that, isn't it, really, when you think about it? All that long journey back to Yorkshire, he had loads of times and opportunities he could have got rid of the evidence, but he didn't. So I don't know where her wallet was. Yeah, I'm always careful, Heather. I am always careful. It's awful, isn't it? Yeah, Heather puts the drawbridge on. Yeah, her cook towers. Yeah. Because, of course, Anne's property as well, there was no fence round it. It wasn't a place with a wall round it or whatever. Anyone could just drive up to her front door. So, I know a fence or a hedge or a wall doesn't guarantee safety, but just to me, you can't, if somebody really wants to get into your property so desperately, they're probably going to be able to do it, but you make it as difficult for them as possible. She had security cameras, but what's the point of having security cameras if you leave your front door wide open? And security cameras, they can't, that will help to prosecute Anne's killer, but it didn't prosecute her, did it? It didn't protect her. Those security cameras did not protect her from home. Did it? Look, the dog's talking to me. Right, I'm going to go. So, yeah, if I hear any more information, if any more information comes out. Hi, John. Yep, this case is very odd. I hope I remembered to say hello to everyone as I came in. Sometimes I don't see the message. Oh, I've got one here that's held for review from Heather. Oh, so Heather, that message you put about the Blackberry brush, YouTube held it for review for some reason. Anyway, I'm going to show it. So that's the other thing. Just remember, everybody, if you put a message and you think it's disappeared, it's not me. It's not me. It's YouTube. I'm trying to keep up with. It's just weird the messages that they decide need authorizing. Very strange. Okay, so thank you for watching. Please remember to leave your DNA on the like button and the subscribe. I know, Heather, it's crazy. The subscribe button. Don't forget to press notifications. And yeah, I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, poor Anne, let's say a prayer for Anne. Oh, look, the dog knows when I'm finishing. As soon as I say, I'll see you really soon in the next video, the dog, she's like, oh, she's nearly finished. Yeah, take care of yourselves. And may your God go with you. And keep your front door closed. Adios. Thank you.